Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And I am personally extremely excited about the next reading that I'm going to introduce to y'all. So it is Machiavelli's The Prince, right there. And so The Prince is a little different than a lot of the other political works that came before it, especially people like Dante. They usually came from writing about politics from a more religious and moral point of view, and a lot of times they would use theoretical, ideal scenarios in which to base their writing on. And Machiavelli took a very completely different route than that, in that he wrote his work as a sort of letter that focused and works as a practical step-by-step ruling guide. And so it's not idealistic, it's not abstract, it's not hypothetical. It is step-by-step directions on how to rule effectively. And then so I'm going to share my screen really quickly with y'all and introduce how we are going to get acquainted with the ideas of this text. Now, before we read into it anymore, before I go over the history and the conversation that the Prince has created and that it was joining, what we're going to do is we are going to answer the questions in this little chart here. And then we're going to answer those in terms of our current politicians. And so for the sake of just simplifying things, let's say consider like the main federal elected officials, so senators and the president. And then what you're going to do is this is completely individual. You don't need to look at someone else's. There is no right or wrong answer to these questions. It is just how you feel about your leaders in terms of these questions. And so I'm just going to go over them super quickly. All you have to do is check yes or no. Don't stress about it. It's just what you think, and then we will go from there. And so I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one. So, does the government leader or leaders lie in order to achieve what they want? Now, this is not a blanket statement that in order for it to be yes, all of them lie all of the time. It's just if you consider that to be a common occurrence among like American politicians, either side, this isn't about like how you feel or your political preference. It is just about how you perceive all leaders for your country in terms of these questions. So it's just if they do it occasionally. And then so for number 2, does the leader or leaders genuinely care about and value their constituents as individuals? And so what this question means is, do the leaders consider their people as valuable individuals, or do they consider them in terms of masses? So do you think that they write their laws and then they hold and value people as a collective and as a large crowd to sway in one way or the other? Or do you think that they care about and value each individual person? And then number 3, does the leader prioritize protecting its citizens' property and physical being over nourishing their morality and value? And so what this is asking is basically, do the leaders of our country prioritize the financial well-being of people and their privacy and their privacy in terms of their physical land? Or do they prioritize making sure that that Americans are morally fulfilled and are upstanding citizens? So if you believe that the government prioritizes virtue over more physical things, then the answer would be yes. If not, then no. So for number 4, does the government, excuse me, is the government leader or leaders more likely to be feared than loved by their constituents? And so it's basically considering if you often are more drawn towards feelings of like admiration and love and think that they genuinely like have your interests at heart and you love your leaders on a more human scale, and you think that they want you to feel like that, then it would be yes. If you think that politicians are much more often considered to be someone that you are worried about or that you fear or that you may consider would do something to harm you. And then lastly, does their government participate in war and defense treaties with other nations, or do they favor neutrality? And so an example of a country that is always neutral would be Switzerland. Every world war, every war that is happening in Europe, they take a policy of neutrality and they stay out of the war. And now if you consider if America does that or not, then the answer would be yes. If they don't, then no. And then so once you have those answered, what you're gonna do is you are going to read the excerpts that I've already assigned y'all. And then after reading, not during, but after, you're gonna go ahead and answer the same for Machiavelli's Prince. And the purpose of why we're doing it and why I'm introducing y'all to it like this is so, this work was written in 1513. And so it's important to understand the effect that it had and whether or not it did affect the politics of the world centuries later or not. And then that really does help you gain insight into the purpose of this work and how it has affected our country and how it affects it today. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I hope you enjoy reading